quisimos hacerlo de esta manera para, pues de alguna forma, digamos que cerrar con broche de oro esta semana que hemos tenido del Congreso. Entonces está con nosotros el Industrial Designer Hector Silva. Héctor Silva es profesor de la Universidad de Notre Dame y él es un diseñador industrial egresado de la UIC, de la University of Illinois en Chicago. En el año 2017 fue galardonado como el educador joven del año por la Industrial Designers Society of America. En el otoño de este mismo año se incorporó a trabajar a la Universidad de Notre Dame como asistente de investigación, después de servir como profesor asistente adjunto de diseño industrial en la Universidad de Illinois en Chicago, donde enseñaba cursos introductorios en el diseño y dibujo a estudiantes de primero y segundo año. Silva es el líder de Edge Design, trabajando con empresas como Create and Barrel, Design Lab, Nickelodeon, Leapfrog, Foster Grant, Inside Product Development, Lund & Company y varios empresarios. Recibió en el año 2016 el premio Core 77 Design Award por su trabajo con accesorios personales en el campo de la medicina que realizó para su tesis de graduación de la UIC en mayo de 2015. Silva también es presidente del capítulo de Chicago de la Industrial Designers Society of America. En la actualidad colabora con empresas y estudios tales como Garmin, Motorola, MNML, Lunar, Teams Design y Lost Arts para eventos en beneficio de estudiantes y profesionales del diseño industrial. Asimismo, fundó la organización Advanced Design Sketching Organization, una organización estudiantil que ayuda a los estudiantes a ser productivos durante el verano cuando las clases no están en sesión. De igual manera, Héctor ha sido un gran apoyo para nosotros en el Pagleón Design Challenge. Ha actuado como jurado de los proyectos de los estudiantes de la UAM junto con el profesor Stephen Melamed. Entonces, bueno, sin más preámbulos, le damos una calurosa bienvenida, por favor.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Hector Silva y muchas gracias por la introducción. Hablo español, yo puedo platicar con ustedes en español, pero no tengo mucha confianza presentando en español, so muchas disculpas. Lo voy a hacer en inglés. Todavía estoy aprendiendo el inglés por el lenguaje de diseño, so muchas disculpas. Pero si tienen tiempo afuera, yo puedo hablar con ustedes español por horas, pero no de diseño. Okay, so I'm going to switch to English now. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Hector Silva. I'm a research assistant professor at the University of Notre Dame. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself before I start talking about my topic. This is a very brief timeline of how, I graduated from school. I went to the University of Illinois system. There's 3 schools, and I went to the Urbana-Champaign campus. I graduated there with an undergrad in industrial design, and then 5 years later, I went and got my master's in industrial design, master of design. And then after that, I started teaching at the University of Illinois in Chicago for 2 years, and that's where I, 1, fell in love with teaching, and number 2, fell in love with collaborating with my colleague here, Professor Melamed, and that's how I was able to get on board with the Vincent and Mary Paglione Design Challenge and came and met the wonderful people of WAM. And then recently, a month ago, I accepted an opportunity at the University of Notre Dame, which is 90 minutes from Chicago. So the opportunity was, it was really hard not to say no, and it was perfect location because I'm from Chicago, raised in Chicago, and everything is in Chicago. UIC, my home, all the collaborations that I'm about to talk about and share. So it was a perfect fit for both parties. So I'm going to quickly share a very small, tiny iceberg about my work. I'm a very visual person. I like to communicate on paper when I am working either for a client or when I'm working with students, when I'm teaching students. I like to show them how to sketch, how to communicate an idea through sketching, either to their classmates or to other people in other disciplines like engineering or business. Sketching is the universal language for us designers, right? If you go to China and you don't know Chinese, but you have an idea, sketch it out. So that's why there's a little bit of a little bit of my sketching and what I do. I also want to share a little bit of some of my graduate work that I did at the University of Illinois. I did this wearable device for all diabetics, and I spent 2 years doing research and tons of collaboration within the School of Medicine and School of Nursing on campus, and 2 years worth of work. I was able to, I was awarded a design, Core 77 Design Award. So I was it was worth all that time. And outside of the research that I do and outside of the sketching that I do, I'm extremely fascinated with design patents and how companies just copy each other. So when I was in graduate school, I did research that I looked back all the way to the 1900s on how companies copied each other's designs, or a design influenced another object, software, and everything from design, fashion design. So what I did is I collected a visual library of these objects, and I put them next to each other so that you can see how one company clearly copied or took aesthetic influence from another company. And in this case, this was the one that I did for Apple. So everyone is guilty, everyone does it, and so I was really interested in this research, and I am. So I wanted to share a little bit about that. So outside of my interest, I'm the chair of the professional chapter in Chicago, the Industrial Designers Society of America. And last year I founded a nonprofit called Advanced Design Sketching, and it's a student-led organization that I'll talk more about. And then I do all of my contracting. I work with companies through H Design. So what I want to share with you guys, I want to talk to you guys about collaborative learning, what it is and why it matters and why everyone should do it. So collaborative learning is an educational approach to teaching and learning student to student to solve a problem, to come to a solution regarding research or a product. Now, I think this was taken from Cornell University. Collaborative learning could absolutely, it can absolutely be not only between students and students within the classroom, or faculty to student, educator to student, but I believe it has to be student with educator with industry leaders. So designers actually working in the industry, and I believe that begins in the classroom. As educators, it's our job to really influence our students and get them excited about what they're doing, and tell them not to forget about us. So when they go and they graduate, hey, come back, teach the new generation, teach them what you're learning in the industry, right? You have 4 years of school, and most of the time you're probably not going to learn everything in those 4 years. You're going to learn a lot when you leave during internships so it begins in the classrooms. You have to encourage your students to come back. It has to be this cycle that has to keep moving. So I believe collaborative learning could work when students work with professionals. So that's very important. So here are a couple of benefits why collaborative learning, how it benefits students. After doing all this research, there is probably like 100 benefits. I kind of took 10 or so and kind of just wrote them out here. But the benefits to collaborative learning with students is that it gets them excited. It creates an atmosphere in the classroom. You set standards and expectations of what the students should bring to the classroom. It encourages people. It encourages students to be open to talk to all students in the classroom, all races, be very diverse, be an open book, basically be a sponge where they can soak up knowledge. These are a lot of benefits, and again, there's 100 of them, and I only selected a couple. Now there's some amazing benefits to the school as well, not just students. Some benefits to the schools of working with professionals is the school, you create long-term relationships with a company. There's possible internship opportunities. There is the companies could then look at the students and select, these are the students that we want to hire. You create a long-term relationship as opposed to a temporary or short-term relationship. It creates a positive attitude towards a project, and I'm going to show you guys some examples of that. And I'm going to talk about the collaborations that I've done at UIC and how it's benefited me, my students, and the school as a whole. So there's three actors in collaboration: the students, the educator, and the school, right? So yesterday, my colleague, Professor Malamed, spoke about IPD, the Interdisciplinary Product Development Program we have at UIC. This is probably one of the greatest collaborations we have at UIC. One I know because I went to school there and I was a student in this program. So I'm a walking testimony of how successful this program is. And if you missed this presentation, hopefully you guys make it available, because this is a fantastic opportunity that is given to us students. Another collaboration that I've done at school is, like I said, connect with the alumni, bring them back to the school and have them teach, have them share. For example, this alumni, Rotimi Solola, in school, everyone kind of says that he's like a design prodigy. It's like, because he now works for Motorola, and he comes to UIC. We invite him to be a speaker. We invite him to come for after hours. We invite him. Now he's actually teaching at UIC. But this is a perfect example of an alumni giving back to the school. After he left, after he went to go work for all these prestigious design firms or companies, he comes back and he shares with the students, hey, this is what's happening in the industry. I, as an educator, I have to have the mentality and the attitude of, I don't know everything. I'm here to teach you what I know, and I'm also going to open so many doors for my students, because I don't know everything. So as an educator, to some extent, you're also a student. You're learning, you keep learning, you never stop learning. So this is a perfect example of an alumni coming back to school, giving back to the new generation of students that are coming in. Because at the end, the students are the ones that are going to benefit. The school as a whole is going to benefit, because then the students get better. The expectations of their work is higher. They start to make more quality work. And so as a whole, the school is recognized as a very good industrial design program. In my second year classes, we were doing a soft good project. I had just started teaching the students how to design backpacks and shoes and jackets and things that are soft, right? So High Sierra, they manufacture backpacks in Chicago. So I know a couple of friends that work there, and I was like, hey, we're having this soft goods project. Can you come over and then show us how you work in the industry? So it was a perfect opportunity. It was justified, right? It wasn't random. And he came with a really big duffel bag, like a gym bag, full of 100 different bags and samples and textile samples and prototypes. And this was a class of 20 students. So he pretty much showed my students, hey, this is what happens in the industry. So this was a fantastic kickoff for this project. My students now I have a higher expectation. They know what happens. They know how to use the software, and this was a perfect example of a collaboration where a professional comes in, and they, without, we didn't have to. The students didn't have to sign any, confidential papers. Mostly because a lot of this work was already out in the market. So, Sean was able to share everything about every project, every small stuff. A lot of companies are very secretive. They like to be closed. They don't like to. They like to be a closed campus. They don't even invite people to come over. So those companies are you should probably be aware of. But there's a lot of amazing companies that are open and encourage this education, this partnership, this collaborative partnership. So he was able to share a lot of the work that he does behind the scenes. You go to the store and you buy a backpack and it looks amazing, but you never know how that backpack was made, where the stitching goes. And I don't know anything about soft goods. I'm not a soft goods designer. So this, again, as an educator, you're a student at heart because you're always learning, and along with your students, and you want to make sure that you're very upfront to your students that you don't know everything. But I am going to, if you have questions, I will get the answers for you. Here's another designer. Her name is Morgan, and we were having a project around, I think we were doing consumer electronics, and she works at Insight Product Development, which is another design firm in Chicago. And I had asked her, hey, do you have time to come to my classroom? And she made time, and she came, and she showed all the students pretty much everything that happens behind the scenes. Right, so she was able to show them these tricks and how she sketches different techniques. This is an industrial designer from Dolby. Dolby is located in San Francisco, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I don't want to confuse you. Sam, his girlfriend is an industrial designer at Insight. She actually worked with Morgan. So Sam is stationed in San Francisco and was going to come visit her in Chicago, and a little bit of luck, and I was like, hey, I'm teaching here. Would you mind coming over? And so now we have an industrial designer from 400 miles across the country that is in my classroom, exposing my students to trends and industry level type of work. So that was these opportunities that happen. Sometimes you kind of just have to be aware and have your eyes open to see when people travel to Chicago and if they're here to visit, and simply ask, hey, can you come to my class? And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But the benefits and the exposure of him being there, bringing his work, is just, you can't really put a number of how valuable this information is. Another designer that we brought over, his name is Reach Ligo. He works at Frog in New York, and he was able to come to Chicago and then share with our students kind of his story of how he went to school and how he got the job at Frog. If you guys don't know who Frog Design is, they're a very prestigious design firm around the world. They have different offices around the world, a couple offices in the United States, and they do amazing work. But he's a designer at Frog and has a lot of influence, so it was very easy to invite him to Chicago. For Reed, I did pay for him to come. It was worth every penny because Reed is a senior industrial designer at Frog, and so the things that he shared were pretty amazing. And then here are a couple of things that I've done in the last 2 years. We've Skyped in with a lot of industrial designers from around the country. This is Robert Swinton. He's based in San Francisco. Michael DeTulo, who's based in San Diego. He was the creative director for the Nike brand. He worked at Converse. He worked at Frog. He worked in so many places. So having the opportunity, if you can bring someone in, now we have this awesome stuff called technology and Skype and FaceTime and all this awesome stuff that you can utilize to really not make any excuses. We had another industrial designer, Jeff Smith, who works for Autodesk. Actually, Autodesk pays Jeff to go to schools around the country to teach and educate people about sketching, about CAD. So Autodesk is an extremely progressive company that is hiring industrial designers and saying, go and teach people. And this is like the definition of collaborative. We also have local designers, Paul Hatch, who is the president of Teams Design and a nonprofit called Design House, who came to the classrooms to give students one-day design challenges. And then he actually interacted with the students. Most of the times you'll see designers come into the classroom and they kind of just manage, like, hey, yeah, have them do this, have them do that. These are the designers, these are the selfless people who come and actually interact with the students. They get to pick their brain and understand what's going on and solve solutions with the students, as opposed to, here's the problem, solve it, Another thing that I guess you can't really see the image. Another thing that I did with a local design firm is I had a mini furniture design competition. It was like a month long, and it encouraged students to design something. And the winning team would go to the design firm and get an exclusive tour of how they function, how they work, and things like that. I'm gonna tell you how all of this happens, because it really isn't a secret. I don't hold a secret, or I don't know something that you don't know. I'm sure all you guys are guessing how this is all happening, and a lot of this happens because of relationships. And I'm sure you can talk to your professors here, your educators, and relationships, it holds weight. Creating a relationship is very important. And most importantly, maintaining those relationships. If I meet you today, and then I'm like, oh, hi, bye, how's life, how are your parents, blah, blah. And then I leave back to Chicago and we never talk again. And then it just, that's not really a relationship. A relationship is someone you keep in contact and you maintain it, and you, if the time is right, then you collaborate on something, but you make sure that collaboration is beneficial to both parties, especially since I'm not paying them and they're not paying me. But maintaining the relationships are extremely important. You meet so many people. Maintaining, I guess I should have edited this. Maintaining relationships and creating genuine relationships, right? So I want to tell you a little bit about relationships, because this is something that I did on my own. When I was my first year working at UIC, I was the internship coordinator. So I was responsible for providing opportunities for students. I would make posters and put them on the school, and then say, hey, there's these opportunities, these internships. These companies are looking for students. Sometimes companies would contact the school saying, hey, we need students. I would get maybe like 5 emails in like 2 months. So what I did is, during in school we have a spring break, which is like 5 days long. So what I did is I booked a flight. I went to San Francisco. I have all these friends that are working in San Francisco, and going back to creating those relationships, I went to San Francisco to maintain those relationships. So I booked this flight. I scheduled meetings with designers. I think I scheduled like 10 meetings a day for like an hour and a half. I took them out to lunch. We had coffee. We had amazing conversations. And most importantly, I was able to get information, educate myself what's happening in this part of the country, what's trending, what can I take back to my students, so that we can prepare them, so that when they graduate, they know how to be competitive in the job market. And so this is San Francisco. Is really small. And because of the image quality, these are all the companies that I went to. I probably had my whole week was booked. I spent a lot of money on Uber, driving around, and then if you're in that part of the country, you're pretty much in Silicon Valley, and there's so many design companies there. And I didn't stop there. I went to, not only did I go to companies, I also visited universities to see if there was an opportunity there. You never know unless you go and find out or you ask. So it was an amazing, amazing experience for me. I had so much information to take back to school and share with all the students. And not only did I create these relationships, these people remember my trip over there. And as soon as I went back to Chicago, in a couple weeks, internship opportunities started coming up. Hey, Hector, we need an intern at Airbnb. Hey, Hector, we're looking for interns. And so that gives our students options. It gives them options. If they want to leave Chicago, they can. They can go and get an internship in anywhere across the country. And so this is an example of really maintaining those relationships. I want to talk about a little about these two guys, An and Huang. These brothers, their brothers are like a year or 2 years apart. I met them in San Francisco, and we immediately hit it off. They started a company called Creative Session, and the things that they do, I don't even think they're human because they are like robots. They've worked on if you go to Best Buy or any tech store right now, a lot of the stuff in that store, these guys are the minds behind all that. But they work at a place called Playground, and Playground, it's a design studio who they have space for investors. Investors come in, and then the investors like, I have an idea, and then you have these designers who, start to make things out of the idea. But these guys, when I met them in Palo Alto, I told them about our school, I told them about our students, I told them about all the amazing things that we're doing at UIC, and about every month they send me work, things that they do, things that they're working on. They send me work so that I can keep my students up to date with what's happening in the industry. And they send me pictures of prototypes. They send me pictures of their work, the CAD. A lot of the stuff that they send me, sometimes I can't even show it to the public. Like, this stuff is already, this is public. But sometimes they're like, just show it to your students, make sure they're not taking pictures. I trust you. They for a lot of these projects, they make process books that are like 200 pages. They send me the PDF. And it is rich with information. It helps me as an educator to prepare myself, to kind of excite people about what we're going to work on, to show them examples about how they should design, how they should look at form, how they should look at aesthetics. So these guys really are like a lifeline to me. And it's all because I made that first connection, and this is, let's see. Okay, this is something that is confidential, but it's okay if you guys see it. But this is something that they're working on. Again, this is just rich information on how to put a presentation together, how to do research, how to put a mood board together. This stuff really helps me, and I show it to my students. And instead of the students competing with other students, now their work is competing with actual professionals, and that not only does that make not only is that great for the students, it's great for the school as a whole, right? Another thing that I've been working on outside of all these collaborations that I've been doing, I founded Advanced Design Sketching. I briefly talked about it in the beginning. It's a nonprofit, student-led organization by 12 students, and doing a conference like this right here, this Congress is a conference. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of people. Not only that, you have to pay for things. You got to get money. You have to find a space to do it. So these 12 students that have been helping me, actually I've been helping them, they have been really stepping up to the plate, and they've been taking the initiative to actually contact designers and contact companies and get them excited about, hey, we're doing this conference, would you like to be a part of it? And so we were able to obtain all these commercial industry sponsorships. And I've never put together a conference before. And I didn't know how to start. You know, everyone has been asking me, how did you do this? There is no secret. The only answer is you got to get to work. You got to make connections. You got to do stuff. You can't just expect people to come to you. You got to go to them, and you got to say, hey, I'm having this conference. It's going to be amazing. You have to be a part of it. You have to convince them why their money should be invested in you and in your idea and what you believe in. So after a month of me practicing and tweaking stuff, it worked. But it's a learning experience. I've never done this before. And the reason why I share this is because I don't want you to think that I'm up here and I know how to do all this. A lot of this is me learning. A lot of this is me asking questions, is me failing and sometimes asking the wrong questions. And you know, these are all the designers that have been extremely selfless and have put together videos and have sent those videos to me and my class. And these videos are like, hey, Hector, my name is this, and this is how I design. And so these are like personal videos of these designers sharing their techniques, sharing their knowledge in the field of industrial design. And right now I have like 60 videos. These videos just keep coming in. And all these videos are an outcome of me creating relationships, maintaining those relationships. And every designer, right? Design is not the same. It's extremely subjective. So everyone has a different opinion, different things to say. And it's amazing. All these designers, a lot of them are from around not only the United States, but from around the world. Like, for example, the video down there, actually his name is Rodrigo, and he goes to University of, he studies industrial design in the school in Monterrey. And so we connected, and we started talking, got on the phone, and I told him, hey, this is what I'm doing. I love what I saw his work online, and we connected, we talked on the phone, and he sent me a video, and it was amazing. You know, this designer over here is from Germany, and so, you know, this designer over here with the furniture, with the stool, he's from Spain. So, you know, you need to be a sponge, and you got to learn from everyone, not just people in your country. There's, you know, industrial design is big, and there's so many people that have a voice. My last example of collaborative learning and this collaboration, because collaboration is really powerful, is you know, not only do educators or myself, not only do I ask, you know, that my outside connections for help, but in this example, the outside was asking for they kind of reversed the table. So Beyond Design is a design studio in Chicago, and Northwestern University is a very, very prestigious school in Chicago as well, or north of Chicago, and they collaborated they wanted to work with 8th graders to do something around design. And they met with a school, and they got 8th graders. I think there was 44 8th graders, and they started teaching them about the design process. And when they first met with the 8th graders, they asked the 8th graders, what do I do with my stuff when I walk into my house? And then they started asking them all these questions, right? Whose problem are you solving? Why? You know, when? Where do you do all this? So then the students, they taught them how to go through the design process, how to do research, how to do sketch, how to, you know, they went through this design process. The 8th graders were able to work with actual industrial designers, and the industrial designers were guiding them, right? And the outcome, you know, they did all this research, and this all looks familiar, right? Everyone goes through this problem-solving phase, but the outcome was this really cute hook, and they call it the elephant hook. And this is what the 8th graders came up with, and they actually put it on Kickstarter, and they were able to fund their goal. I think they were asking for $6,000, and they got $10,000, and they were able to have an actual object, from all of this research and design process. So the collaboration works both ways. It's not just educators asking, industry leaders, hey, what can we do? How can this benefit the school? It's also the other way around. Companies want to be involved in what's happening with students, and they want to know how they can change and add to the design community. But it all begins with a foundation, like I said. All of this begins, at least for me, it begins with your students. I get incoming first-year students that are coming from high school that have taken a class in art, or they've never sketched in their life, and I need to, one, get them excited about what I'm going to teach. I need to educate them about my expectations. I have to show them, hey, like I said, I don't know everything. It starts with the students. It always starts there. And this, when I was a student, it happened to me, and I think that's why it was a very easy decision to go into education. So, like I said, I started at UIC. There's supposed to be like circles around this, so just imagine that there's circles. and then I work with IDSA Chicago chapter. I'm the chair, and then I founded Advanced Design Sketching, right? So because there was these three circles, if you put them together, you have like this Audi logo, right? It's overlapping. So what I do, I do so many things, and people are always asking me, how do you have time to make these events, to make conferences? And I actually do have a lot of time because I combine all of my interests. They all overlap. So I don't separate them. I overlap the things I do with my professional career with how it's going to benefit my school and how I'm doing things voluntarily. I overlap them, and everyone benefits. It's a win-win situation. And there's more circles that are missing. But in this case, you have your students, you have the profession, and then you have your school. And man, this circle thing really is not. But they all overlap. When it comes to collaborating, they should not be separated. Everything that I do, a lot of opportunities that I get to design on a professional level actually come from these relationships with designers. It benefits the school. How does it benefit the school? Because the students are creating high quality work, and it makes the school, a better environment. It creates a competitive, a friendly environment. The upperclassmen now are then being leaders. They teach the underclassmen, hey, you should be a part of this. You should go talk to this person. You should do this. When there's design conferences where the school goes to that design conference, a lot of the students, you're best friends with them and you just like to stick with them. A lot of the students are like, no, I see you every day. Go and meet new people. So everyone kind of just, they stop talking to each other and they go meet new people, because as students, you have to use that student card, that student excuse. Oh, I'm a student and I'm learning. And so then people are more likely to then help you and bend over backwards to be like, oh, this is how you, kind of take you under their wing. But it all overlaps. There's no separation when it comes to collaboration. And let's see. And everyone benefits. The school benefits, the students benefit, and the industrial designers that are putting their time, they're benefiting as well. And how do I know this is all benefiting? I look at a school like UIC, where when I started going to getting my master's degree there, they were changing the curriculum they were moving away from a fine arts into the actual School of Design. After that was probably like 5 years ago. After that, the University of Illinois at Chicago has become a very powerful, the industrial design program has become a very powerful program in the last like 4 years, 3 out of those 4 years, the school has been recognized as the best school in the Midwest. So, and it doesn't come down to one person. There's a lot of educators and a lot of industry people that the school ends up benefiting, and they, all the plants, all the seeds that you planted, it will come back, and the rewards will definitely be beneficial. Collaboration is essential for growth. It's not an option, it's a necessity. If you want to succeed, if you want your school to succeed, you cannot sit there and expect or think that you know everything. If you're a design program or a college, or you have to have an open door policy. You have to collaborate with other faculty across campus. Like I did when I was in grad school. I went over to the College of Nursing, the College of Medicine. I had no knowledge of any of that. But then I went over there and I learned, and then I applied it to my work. And that collaboration is essential for survival, not only for the school, for the student, but it's a necessity. It's the key ingredient for success. And with that, thank you so much for your time.